Candice Hillegas, who played the lead actress in the original film in '62, she wrote a sequel to it and brought it to a producer. But then instead of making her sequel, he decided to do a remake. And supposedly they froze her out of the movie and she wasn't a part of it. So I wasn't able
Yeah.
to find the synopsis or anything about the I think all she wrote was a treatment. She didn't write a full script, but I wasn't able to find out anything about it. So I'm not sure like how much of a role she would have played in front of the camera, considering how this movie ended.
Right. I read that exact same thing as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, obviously there are a lot of horror movies where the lead actor dies, and then in the sequel, they find ways to bring them back without any issues. So who knows if maybe she was trying to maybe build a career behind the camera? Because, I mean, that would be almost what, 30 plus years later. So who
Yeah,
knows
just about.
how much of an intention she had of being in front of the camera, because she would have been, I'm assuming, at least twice her the age that she would have
Yeah,
been.
she didn't do much here. I'm looking just yeah, she's really got no she's got a couple acting credits and that's pretty much it. It's even less than 10, so
Yeah, it looks like she did a few spots on TV shows and this movie, and then after this movie, a couple years later, she did another horror movie, and then there's something more recent, but I think that may
right.
just be archive footage. And then, because with IMDb, it's easy to just like use archive footage of someone and then just say they were in your movie. And it just looks like somebody just maybe did a short film and just put her in it and just tried to use her as
Yep.
IMDb credit.
Yep.
Yeah. But interesting, because I also read that her agent fired her after seeing the movie as well. I don't know, that's pretty harsh. I thought that looking at the movie, I thought the movie was better than her performance. So if you were going to weigh, like, did this movie bring her down, or like, did she bring down the movie? I thought they kind of deserved each other, but the movie, I thought, if it had a better actor, could have been elevated even more. I thought she was kind of pedestrian in the role.
Yeah, it's interesting that her agent fired her and then she did almost nothing after that. So maybe agents are really, really important. I don't know, but the movie did
Or
not do well apparently either. So
yeah, or who knows? I mean, I didn't really search the agent's name or see if he had any major clients or anything like that. So who really knows the story of something that happened so long ago? But
mhm.
it's obviously interesting to read these tidbits. But what did you think of the actual movie itself?
I enjoyed it, and I got to be honest with you. When I saw this movie originally back probably around 1995 or so, a friend of mine had it and he loaned it to me. I watched it then, and I was aware of the film but knew nothing really of it. I didn't really care for it too much. I thought it was a little slow, and so there was nothing about me that was looking forward to seeing it again. But then I watched it earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise.
Mhm. Yeah, and then for anyone who somehow hasn't seen it that's watching the review, it's a very basic story. Three girls go off drag racing to start the movie. Two of them die, one of them lives, and then we just follow the survivor as she goes from Kansas to Utah to become a church organist. And it's her journey sounds about as exciting as that synopsis. So um, I think with this movie, almost everything you see on screen feels superfluous in a way, because a lot of what she does has nothing to do with driving the story forward. It's just a bunch of things happening until we get to the end, which is, I don't know like how you felt when you first saw it, but it felt a little predictable, like how the movie would end and what's going on without any explanation.
Well, I said a similar thing as I was going to be reviewing this for my own channel that there's not a lot that's happening. It's kind of just like it's like a day in the life or a few days in the life. We just see her go shopping. We see her go on a date. We see her getting a job. We see her doing just her daily routine. And a few times interspersed with that, we see, you know, these ghostly images. So, but yeah, other than that, it's just. In fact, this may have been better as like a Twilight Zone episode or something. It could have been maybe just a 30-minute short. I don't know. I mean, I did enjoy the movie, but yeah, there was a lot of padding in there.
Yeah, from what I saw, it was inspired by the Hitchhiker episode of The Twilight Zone, which is interesting for me because I more so saw it as the occurrence at Owl Creek, which was also a Twilight Zone episode, even though it wasn't shot by Rod Serling or the Twilight Zone production company. It was a short film that was released as an episode of The Twilight Zone. And it was based on a story by Ambrose Bierce, who was a writer who did a lot of stories that centered around this person's already dead type stuff. And yeah, when I saw that, I mean, when I first saw it, that's the first thing that popped up in my head was the occurrence at Owl Creek, Twilight Zone, things like that. On rewatching it, a few other movies popped into my head. The Brown Bunny. I'm not sure if you saw that movie.
I've seen that infamous scene, but I have not seen the actual film
Oh,
itself.
come on, Herbert. But yeah,
Yep.
it plays out in a similar way because in the Brown Bunny, a lot of what you're seeing feels superfluous to what's going on. But at the end of the Brown Bunny, you kind of feel like all of the day in the life of, as you would put it, stuff, it kind of made sense because you understood why the character was acting that way or why, you know, or why we, the slowness of the movie was explained, not just what the character was doing, but the way the story was told made more sense with the ending. But with this movie, you feel like a lot of the things you're watching aren't very important. And even though the payoff is good at the end, it's the payoff still makes you feel like a lot of what you watched wasn't important because nothing like from the ending makes you recontextualize what you saw before.
Yeah, no, I won't disagree with that at all. And I do think again, I'm not sure how your overall thoughts are on this film was yet. I did enjoy it quite a bit because I thought when we see those ghosts and zombies or whatever they are, they just seemed creepy to me. They seemed very creepy, and I liked the whole overall vibe that it gave. So, even though we don't get we got a lot of padding in there. What little we saw of these things made it entertaining enough for me, so I wasn't bored. Put it
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was just the one ghoul she was seeing, um,
Initially, yeah.
which was the director, Hark Harvey,
Hmm.
played that character. And it was interesting because she reacted to him in very different ways. You could see the hitchhiker inspiration, the Twilight Zone stuff, when she initially took that road trip to Utah. She sees him in the car and different things like that. But it seems like she saw him, reacted to him, and then after the scene was over, it was like it never happened, which is kind of
Yeah,
interesting. I'm not sure if that was a direction thing, like she wasn't given proper direction of like, okay, this is going to be a progression. But it seemed like for like the first third of the movie, when she saw him, she reacted to him, and then when he was gone, it was like he was never there to begin with, until finally when she gets to the boarding house that she's staying at, she finally does see him in the hallway, and after that, she acknowledges to the house mother, whoever that character was that owned the house, that okay, there's some crazy man following me. But what did you think of like the way that played out in terms of how she reacted to him and how that played out through the movie? It was just kind of odd.
yeah, it was odd. I thought the exact same thing. When the very first time she sees him in the car window there, and then she turns away, and then he's gone again, and then she just went on with her drive like nothing ever happened, which seemed really strange to me. Yeah, and uh, yeah, I agree with you 100%. It was very odd the way that she just. I wouldn't act that same way. I think something's really wrong.
Yeah. So what did you think of that? I mean, I thought it would have been more interesting if the people, I mean, I viewed it as like these are the people from the other side.
Yeah.
coming for her because like she was supposed to be dead, but she's not. Maybe she's in limbo, and this is someone coming for her. I thought it would have been more interesting if the person coming for her was maybe a representation of death and it looked more like the Grim Reaper or maybe someone like in a cape or something like that. Or if it was maybe her friends coming for her, like the two other girls. I thought that would have at least made the scenes we were seeing tie into the end. Like I was saying with Brown Bunny, it was like you watch Brown Bunny, it seems like a bunch of scenes and nothing happening. But at the end, it's like, oh, it makes sense. I thought even if nothing else changed, but it was the two friends coming after her, that would have made everything tie together a little bit better.
It could have, but I also wonder if she'd have seen her friends, she'd know something is up immediately. Maybe this was just a little bit way to have some not knowing, you know. She sees her friends, she knows her friends are dead. If she starts seeing those ghosts or whatever they were, I think she might have an instant realization. Obviously, we as an audience are kind of figuring it out already, but her character hasn't figured it out yet. But make them her friends and she might right away. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess that's the mystery versus suspense. Like we know what's going on, but she doesn't, or the suspense or the mystery where no one knows what's going on until the end. But I guess maybe because I felt it was so predictable that maybe the suspense route would have been better. And maybe she sees her friends and she says, "Oh my God, you're alive! Like, where have you been? Like, what's going on?" And then they disappear. It's like, "Where'd you go?" I don't know. But I just thought something to make all of these scenes a little bit more meaningful would have been nice because you're watching these scenes. It's just like she's taking a shower, she's taking a bath, and they're talking about, oh, you can take as many baths as you want. I don't mind. And they're talking about the organ and the organ music. Oh my God. If I never hear another organ soundtrack or music again, I will be happy. There's so much organ music in this movie. But what did you think of the neighbor? I guess that was the only person who had any kind of personality to him, because otherwise everyone was kind of like very flat, which makes sense because I think a lot of these people either weren't actors at all or really didn't do anything after this. But what did you think of the neighbor character who was, I guess, the love interest,
Uh-huh.
Sidney Berger? He didn't do much else. I think he was like a acting teacher or something, or he also played a cop in the remake, but I think that was just like a cameo.
I didn't have a problem with him, but I'm trying to figure out why, again, why he's there. Is it just padding? Because again, we don't really. He served no purpose, if you want my opinion. I didn't mind the character, but again, we're more focused on her and her problem and whatever it is. We don't need a boyfriend or a love interest. But again,
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
don't
mind
need
him, but
anything, but then we'd have like a 2 minute movie. But I thought at least that he came off creepy. I'm not sure if he was intended to come off creepy, but he came off like really creepy, really sleazy. Um, and they tried to have like a sexual tone to one of the scenes, but it was kind of weird because they even played like the saxophony, like, music, which I was like, thank God it wasn't another organ. But he's like oogling her, but she has this giant beach towel on where you only see like her ankles and her shoulders. And then she takes that off to put like this grandma type robe on. So it was like, there was nothing sexual about the scene, but they tried to imply that it was like maybe tintillating in some kind of way. Uh, but I felt at least when I saw him on screen that he was trying. A lot of the other actors in this movie, you felt like they were just like trying desperately just to like not screw up their lines. It didn't really they didn't really bring much to the table, the actors.
well, it's interesting that you point out that he's kind of a sleazy, pervy type of guy. She clearly liked him, at least, when they had that scene in the living room on the couch, and then when he left, and there was that scene where they zoom in on her and she's just smiling, really happy after he left. But then again, we also, like I said, we know that she's dead or between life and death. Who knows? We've figured this all out already. Maybe she's just a moron. I don't know.
Are we talking about the actor or the character?
Maybe a little bit of both. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it was they were. I don't see her getting a lot of really great direction because her performance comes off so inconsistent. One minute she's like, "Get the hell out of my apartment." You're right. The next minute she's smiling and blushing. It's like, what does she really think of this guy? It changes from scene to scene. It's not like he's changing from scene to scene. He still
No.
comes off creepy throughout every scene we see him in. But sometimes she reacts the way you think a normal girl would react. It's like, get this rapey, creepy guy out of my apartment. And other times she's like smiling and blushing, but he's just the consistent sleazeball, every time we see him. I thought that there was opportunity for maybe a more seasoned, experienced, better actress, however you want to put it, to really do a little bit more with this part. Because there was a sequence, I think, from when she was fired from the church as the organist to when she went on a date with him and brought him back to her apartment, where it's like she's losing her mind. She doesn't like him, I think, but she doesn't want to be alone at the same time. You felt kind of sorry for her. It's just like, it's like you're trying to imagine yourself in her shoes, where it's like you don't want to be alone, but your only option is to A, be alone and be haunted by this ghoul, or B, be with someone and it's this rapey creep who you can't stand. It's just like, and then she kind of like loses it.
I don't want to be left alone.
I thought like that was like a great opportunity for like an actor to just like really freak out or have fun with it. But I don't know. She didn't really, like I said, I wasn't super impressed. I didn't think she brought the movie down too much, but she didn't really add a lot to it, considering she was in every scene of the movie.
Well, just so tell me, what is your overall impression of the film? Would you recommend it? Do you like it?
Good question.
Have you seen? I'm assuming you saw it before.
I've seen it several times. So because I've seen it several times, you think I like it at least a little bit. um, I like I like it in theory more than I like the actual movie. Like I like the Ambrose Bierce stuff. I like him as a writer. I like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. I like characters losing their mind. I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of Darren Aronofsky films.
I'm not sure.
Stuff like Black Swan, Pi, uh, the Wrestler.
I've seen The Wrestler. We have Pi in the house, but I don't think I've seen it yet. We're going to watch Black Swan one of these days, so I'll get to them.
Yeah, but basically all of his movies kind of play out like this in a way where it's this character struggling with what's real, what's not real, losing their mind, stuff like that. But he's a well-crafted director. The guy that directed this mainly did like industrial like stuff, educational, documentary stuff. I think he did 400 stuff, movies like that, or shorts like that. And this was his only actual movie. Aronofsky's more of an auteur. He's more, experienced with doing stuff like that. So I like theoretically everything this movie brings to the table. I just didn't think it was executed great. But again, considering it's a guy who's never made another film before or after this, I'm not going to be critical of it. And I think that's why I'm forgiving of its flaws. I thought it was okay. Would I recommend it to someone who's never seen it? Probably not, because I think you're right. This is better as a short, and I could recommend 100 Twilight Zone episodes that would be more entertaining than this, that would follow a similar premise, and that would be a quarter of the length of this, at least. So
yeah.
Not a huge recommendation. Have you seen or do you know anything about the remake at all?
Not at all. I knew it existed, but that's it.
Yeah, I saw like Wes Craven's name on it. But I think he was just like an EP. And executive producers, they can have nothing to do with the film. It's just like, all right, put my name on it and give me like 20 grand, and I'm good. So I don't know how much he actually had to do with it. I only saw the trailer and read one of the reviews. The trailer looks like it might be like campy fun. It looks bad, but maybe funny bad. But from the review I read, it really just seems like they kind of follow the same plot, except before she goes off the bridge, um, it's implied that she was sexually abused by a clown as a kid, and the clown made her drive off the bridge, and then the clown haunts her in the carnival, and that's the major difference. But aside
Yeah,
from that, after it kind of follows the same story.
yeah, I can tell you the overall ratings are not good for it. So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I guess, I mean, a few other notes, but again, I thought the doctor was kind of weird. The doctor who, when she's drinking water at the fountain, he kind of grabs her so forcefully. He had like a very rapey vibe to him. But
and
she kind
doesn't
of,
let go.
and I know, it's like, and you could see the grip is kind of tight too, so it's just like, it was a very weird vibe. And then after she goes to his office and explains everything to him, one of the first things he says is,
I'm not a psychiatrist, and perhaps I'm being clumsy at all this.
like, what the fuck? Why is she in your office? Like, why did you have her there?
I'm not a psychiatrist.
Like, explaining all this stuff to you if you have no experience in, like, helping her at all.
I'm not a psychiatrist.
That was funny to me, I guess, unintentionally, but I just thought, like, after all that happened, like, for him to say, well,
I'm not a psychiatrist.
I thought that was pretty funny. I thought it was interesting that there was a transvestite in the movie that kind of went unsaid. When she's getting changed in the dressing room, the salesperson that gives her the dress is like this 6'4" tall, like, dude in
Huh.
a dress.
I didn't even notice that, to be honest with you. I know who you're talking about. I remember looking as they were walking on and seeing the back of them. But
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't notice that. You're probably right. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear they use a woman's voice, but looking at him, he had like shoulders like a linebacker and stuff like that. And nothing insulting, but I thought it was kind of progressive, to cast someone like that. Or maybe they just didn't know or think anyone would notice, but it was clearly a man. Um, yeah, obviously, I mentioned the director plays the main ghoul in the movie. I thought it was interesting the effect they used to clue you in. It was kind of like this whirlpool fade type thing where they clue you in
Yeah.
as to, okay, this is when no one is going to be able to see her or hear her, or like she's not really there. They do that twice. I thought that was executed pretty well. And one flaw I did notice that was kind of jarring is when the ghouls were chasing her under the boardwalk,
Hmm.
and even though they were smiling, she kind of
Yes.
broke character and
Yep.
laughed. It's like,
I noticed that as well. Yep.
get like a cutaway shot there or something. Like, don't show her laughing. I mean, it's good that they were having fun while they were filming it, but you don't want the climax of your scene is your lead actor breaking character. So that was kind of funny.
I've actually been there. That location in outside of Salt Lake City. I know exactly where that is. I didn't realize it at the time when I was there, but I'd seen one other movie not too long ago that was filmed in that exact spot. And then I was reading about this film today, and I was like, I know exactly where that is because I was there.
Yeah.
There's nothing to see, but I know that building, and yeah, I was definitely there.
Did you go there because of the movie, or you just?
Nope, I had no clue. We were just trying to get someplace close to the Salt Lake because the Great Salt Lake, is not actually that easy to get to in a lot of places. So this was right off the highway, so we decided to stop, and it's pretty gross actually. So Great Salt Lake, but
Yeah, I did read that when they were coming out of the Salt Lake, it was just the director's pool or the pool near his house,
right,
so they
yep.
didn't have the actors actually go into the Salt Lake. So, but yeah, I mean, I did say a few negative things about the movie. So I'll say something positive is that they did try at some points to hint at the major plot twist. In that when she was dealing with characters in the church, like the pastor and stuff like that, uh, before she left, in Kansas, I guess it was the pastor is in, was it a Catholic? I'm not sure what type of church it was. Maybe it's a Catholic church
That's
or
my
a
assumption, but
priest
who
or
knows?
something, or priest, pastor, whatever it is. But in Kansas, he was like, you need to put your soul into it. And then the pastor or the priest or whatever in Utah was like, I feel sorry for you because you have a lack of soul. So I mean, it's just throwaway lines, but at least they tried, instead of like meaningless scene after meaningless scene, they tried to like, all right, a hint at like what the movie is about. And then two other things I noticed was cars were really built differently back then, because those three girls at the beginning of the movie comfortably fit in that front seat with like room for a fourth. So the cars were definitely built a lot bigger back then. They were very
Yeah, I
small.
mean, one of the things is that the car, I mean, nowadays we have a console in the middle of the car where we put our sodas, whatever else. Back then they just had one big seat that went across, kind of like a back seat the way they are now. But that's my assumption how it was.
Yeah, yeah. And that was one of the slowest drag races in the histories.
And I'm actually trying to figure out how did that car actually fall off the bridge? It almost, I mean, they were obviously, you see them coming straight on. Why did they suddenly turn? I, I don't know. I couldn't figure out how that could possibly happen.
Yeah, you're right. There was no like need for the turn. It's not like the other car hit it. And B, they were going so slow. It's just like
Hmm.
what triggered you to like lose control of the car. So but yeah, I guess overall I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it, because I don't think a lot of people will be patient for the pacing of this movie if they haven't seen it already. And obviously, if you've seen it already, you have your own opinion. What would be your final thoughts?
I would recommend it. I thought it just had an overall creepy vibe to it, and I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the very basic, simple makeup on our ghouls, and I like the scenes of them dancing. And then at one point they sped up the camera, so they're dancing really fast. Some of the ghoul scenes I really enjoyed. So based on that, it's a very short film, even though it could have been shorter maybe, but it's only 88 minutes, 78 minutes long, so you can get through it pretty quick.